Wow. I love that music. It's like being in Hollywood. And I know many of you have come from California. From Hollywood? Yes, okay. Well, I know you've come from 5 continents, 6 actually, if you separate North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia. John Shapiro and my dear friend, David Harris, what about Antarctica? What is this lapse? You've come here from all over the world. I see many, many young people in this crowd. You are our future. You are why we're working so hard. And thank you for taking part in our people's story. Welcome to Jerusalem. Welcome to Israel. David Harris has been a magnificent leader. He is truly committed to the future, of Israel, to the future of our bond with so many around the world, Jews and non-Jews alike. And I'm very grateful for that broad representation that exists here today. You've been doing terrific things, David, and the most important thing you should do is stay. Don't go. Convening the Global Forum here reflects the strong ties between Israel and the AJC global community. AJC has always stood by Israel. The AJC was the first American Jewish organization to establish a full-time office in Jerusalem 60 years ago. We like it when people establish offices and embassies in Jerusalem. But you are the first Jewish American organization to do so, and we in Israel are deeply grateful for your steadfast support, consistent support over the years. You do that with passion, with conviction. You defend Israel's fundamental rights. You combat anti-Semitism. You mobilize support for democratic values. You mobilize support and you defend the truth all around the globe. You make your voices heard and you build bridges with people in every corner of the world. And that includes all the places that I mentioned and one that I didn't, but I will now, the Muslim world. I find that particularly important and particularly hopeful. Welcome to all of you from Indonesia. Know that we have contacts, among others through the AJC, with many, many in the Muslim world. And that holds the promise of peace. Through Project Interchange, you bring thousands of leaders to see Israel for themselves. And I think they go back eager to defend the truth and equipped to defend the truth because they see the true Israel, as you do when you walk around here. And the truth is that as Israel celebrates its 70th birthday, we have so much to be proud of. Now, I just received statistics from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Israel has just overtaken Japan in per capita income. Israel has overtaken the EU average in per capita income, and it'll take us a couple of years. Not really, I'm not competing with anybody, but I think we're going to catch up to Britain and France because we're that close. It's a vibrant society, vibrant economy. Now, you might want to know also that our unemployment rate today is the lowest it's been since we started measuring it in 40 years under the current system. It's 3.8%. Still has a few percentage points to go. And you might say, well, you have this amazing success. We liberated our economy. We gave room and birth for the ingenuity of our people, our young people. And they make fantastic things in technology. You're all aware of that. Israel is the quintessential innovation nation. That's what we do. We innovate, and the future belongs to those who innovate. But you might say, well, that's okay. So you took care of the rich, but the gap between the rich and the poor gets bigger, right? Nope. In fact, the opposite has happened, because we also got statistics for the inequality coefficient. It's called the Gini Coefficient. And what that means, it measures inequality in a society across countries. And Israel's has gone down steadily and dramatically as we speak over these years. As our economy has grown and as we have become richer, we've also become less divided. Less divided because right now our inequality rates, which were very high, now are almost touching the inequality rates, gross inequality, that's what it's called, almost touches the OECD. So we're surpassing many of those countries, but we're also making sure that this gift abounds to our people. And when I say our people, I mean all our people. All our people. Part of the reason that this is happening is because Orthodox people are entering the job market. Our Arab citizens are entering the job market. And as they do so, their situation is improved terrifically. But I'm proud because of Israel is doing all this and because it's the only state in the Middle East that has free and fair elections. I know, I've been through 4 of them. 5 actually, I won 4, lost 1. There's only one state in the Middle East where Jews, Christians, Muslims, and others enjoy equal rights and freedom of worship guaranteed by law. And that's how it will always stay. There's only one state in the Middle East with an independent judiciary and a free press. Boy, I can tell you how free it is. You wouldn't believe it. There's only one state in the Middle East that welcomes gays, and I'm very proud that we have a very, very bright and rising star in our party, Amir Rouhana. But there are others in other parties. This is the one place in the Middle East where gays walk proudly on a Tel Aviv beach and participate here in our Knesset deliberations, in our government. Israel is the one place in the Middle East where you have female fighter pilots. Well, it may not be the only place. I think there's another country with a female fighter pilot, so let's amend that one, but we've had that for a long time. We have Christian diplomats, we have Arab Supreme Court justices, and we have Druze ministers. I just appointed one, and I'm very proud of that. Israel isn't strong despite its diversity, it's strong because of its diversity. And that's why I'm proud that my government has invested more than any other in Israel's history in our Arab sector. And this money, it's 15 billion shekels. The previous record was held by another government, 1 billion shekels. That was mine. We went a considerable distance beyond that. We went to 15 billion shekels. And it goes to improving the welfare and the opportunities of our Arab citizens in health, in welfare, in education, transportation, employment, transportation, to have public transport routes in Arab villages, in Arab communities, that allows women to go to work. It allows them to get an education. It allows them to improve their lives. Israel has even got a pilot program now to teach Arabic, starting in the 5th and 6th grade. I think the success of our Arab citizens links to the growing ties with our Arab states, which I can speak about in general terms, but which I tell you specifically are improving beyond imagination. And I think this will help ultimately achieve peace with our Palestinian neighbors. Israel has offered its peace, its hand in peace, with all our neighbors 70 years ago in our birth, and since then, many, many times. But I think that the problem we face is this. The reason we don't have peace is not because of the absence of a Palestinian state. It's been offered many, many times. And it's been rejected many, many times because it always had a condition. No Jewish state. That's why 100 years ago, the rejectionist elements in Palestinian society rejected the Balfour Declaration. They rejected the Peel Commission in the 1930s. They rejected the Partition Resolution, which called for a Jewish state and an Arab state in 1947. And they've rejected it ever since. Mr. Abbas said no to Prime Minister Olmert. He said no to President Obama. I agreed to discuss what I had considerable reservations about Secretary Kerry's peace plan. And President Obama asked me, well, will you sit down and talk about it? I said, yes, I have reservations, but I will, because you have to sit down and negotiate peace. And then he asked Abu Mazen, President Abbas. Netanyahu said that he's willing to discuss it. What about you? You know what he said? What did he say? He said nothing. He said, I have to think about it, and never came back. And that's the problem. It's never been about a Palestinian state. It's always been about the Jewish state. If President Abbas wants to make peace, recognize the Jewish state, for God's sake. That will bring peace once and for all. Imagine what would happen if President Abbas would not invest hundreds of millions of dollars each year in paying terrorists and the families of terrorists who murdered innocent people. Imagine that he invested this in the project of peace. Imagine that they invested it in Ramallah, or for that matter in Gaza. Imagine what this would do. And I think it would change the world. And the Palestinians could aspire to become scientists and doctors. Instead, they erect statues to mass murderers. That's what they have. Do you see that here anywhere? No. It's never been about a Palestinian state. It's always been about the Jewish state. Recognize the Jewish state, stop paying terrorists, and invest in peace. And I'm proud that Israel has made peace with our neighbors who have genuinely sought peace. Our peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan have stood the test of time, many tests. And despite many, many threats, we've not only kept our vibrant democracy, which is a tremendous achievement. Not one day was Israeli democracy threatened. But we also never stopped aspiring to achieve peace with our neighbors, even though those who rise to destroy us, they may disappear, but somebody else comes. And currently, the great threat to us and to the entire Middle East comes from the theocratic tyranny in Iran, in Tehran. We resisted. For a long time, we resisted it alone, but we spoke for others. When I spoke up against Iran's efforts to destroy Israel and Iran's efforts to achieve an arsenal of nuclear weapons, I was told by many Arabs, tell them. I said, I am telling them. What about you? Why don't you tell them? Well, finally, they do. Now, preventing autocratic regimes with ideological radical Islam as their fundamental creed, preventing them from getting nuclear weapons is very important. Dangerous regimes should denuclearize. We know that in 2 days, President Trump will meet Kim Jong-un. I think the entire world, as we do, prays for the success of this effort. Now imagine that President Trump would come back with some deal, and Britain, France, and Germany would applaud it, and South Korea and Japan would say that it endangers their existence. You'd think you'd listen to this, right? So the same thing happened with the Iran deal. This deal was applauded by many in the international community who are not in the missile range of Iran. But Israel and Saudi Arabia and others said this deal will ultimately give Iran a nuclear arsenal, and they will use it first against us, and then with the long-range missiles that they're building, and that the deal doesn't prevent them from building, against everyone else. So I think, as I told my friends in Europe this week, when Israelis and Arabs agree on something, pay attention. They must know something. We are committed to preventing Iran from ever acquiring nuclear weapons. We're committed to rolling back Iran's aggression in the region. We will not let Iran entrench militarily in Syria to threaten Israel, as they openly say they will. We are acting in self-defense, but in so doing, we're also protecting the entire world from Iran's aggression, and we will continue to do so. But here's the curious thing that has happened. I mean, Iran has produced one good thing. It's brought Israel and our Arab neighbors closer together than ever before. That has happened. But as the Arab states see the benefit of Israel's strong security stance, they also discover what many others in the world have discovered, that Israel is a fount of technology that can make the lives of their own citizens better. To clean water, to clear air, agriculture, IT, health, in every field. And this same discovery, this dual discovery, that Israel can help you against the risks of terrorism, and Israel has prevented dozens and dozens of terrorist attacks in dozens and dozens of countries, more than any other country in the world. Israel is doing that and is proud that it's doing that. Many countries want that. But they also want the benefits of Israel's innovative technology. And so what we see as a result of these two things, as they merge, is that Israel is enjoying unprecedented diplomatic relations with countries of the world. We see that in the hundreds and hundreds of leaders who come here every year. You'll be hosting tomorrow one of them, Sebastian Kurz from Austria. There are many, many others who are coming. And they're coming because they understand that cooperating with Israel is something that is good for them, good for their peoples. So Israel is a rising force in the global economy, and I'm very proud of that. We're dedicated to making the world a better place for all. I just spoke to President Jimmy Morales of Guatemala. He too brought his embassy there. By the way, you can go back to your respective countries and make sure, for those who haven't yet moved their embassies, do it. And for those who haven't yet established their embassies, we're waiting patiently, but we know that'll happen too. I spoke to Jimmy Morales after this tragic volcano eruption in Guatemala, and within 48 hours, we have a mission of doctors who are there on the ground helping to save lives. And Israel has done this in Haiti, in Mexico, in the Philippines, you name it. Truly a light unto the nations. This is the true face of Israel. You see Iran sending these delegations? No. You know, when they had this horrible earthquake in Nepal, the biggest delegation, except India, which is nearby, India is a little bigger than Israel, but Israel's delegation to Nepal of doctors and rescue workers was the second largest in the world. This is the true face of Israel. And Jews around the world should take pride in all that Israel represents. We are very grateful for the friendship we've enjoyed. I hear with great sorrow that friends that we have, like Per Olmark in Sweden, who just died. We had no better friend. But we have a friend in the great public intellectual, Charles Krauthammer, who is now on his deathbed. I've sent him a letter, which I hope he can still read, but we've had no greater defender of consistency and conviction and courage than Charles Krauthammer. We remember our friends, we respect our friends, and we're gathering many, many new friends. But we also know that before anything else, Israel is the home of all Jews. Every Jew should feel at home in Israel. This is our goal, and this is our policy. And that's why I hope you'll visit the pluralistic prayer space at the Western Wall. You should visit it. We're enlarging it. We're making it accessible so anybody can pray at the Western Wall. Now, the unity of our people is something that is important and transcends daily politics. It's not always amenable to daily politics, but it's in our hearts. It's in my heart. I know that we are one people. I know that we share a common past and a common destiny. I know the long journey that we made since 3,800 years ago, Abraham came to this land. He came to this land, and his sons pitched their tents here. We built our hearts here. We built our values here. They were forever inscribed not only in our soul, but in the soul of humanity. And then we lost our land, and it took us 2,000 years to come back. But we never forget that Israel is home for all the Jewish people around the world. Anyone here is welcome. Welcome. Feel free to come here, feel free to pray. And if any of you want to get rich, come to Israel, because this is a place where great fortunes are made. You know the joke? Remember the joke? How do you make a small fortune in Israel? You start with a big fortune? Not true anymore. This is the place where you can make a great fortune, but I don't mean it merely in the material sense. Whether you come for a short time or for a long time, for a week or for years, Israel is your home. I want you to feel that as you go tomorrow. Have you gone already to the wall? On Wednesday, when you touch the wall, know this truth. This is your home, and this will always be the home of every Jew. I want to thank you for all that you do. I want to thank you for taking an active role in our remarkable history. When you go back to your respective countries, stand up for Israel and stand up for the truth. That's all that I ask. And I want to thank you and see you next year again in Jerusalem. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.